but what is the power of the work you do, number one? And why is now, 2021, post-COVID era, so important that people should be doing this type of stuff?
Yeah, man, it's a great question. So I was actually going to like riff onto it because that was beautifully explained. Yes, good. I think.
Listen, this doesn't leave the podcast, man.
All right.
It's out there now, mate.
All right.
Look, where it gets super interesting is when you're at a place in your life, or you know someone that's in a place in their life, where they're that whole phrase of lost, right? Where you just feel like, hold on a minute, like a bit of an identity crisis. Who am I? What am I about? What actually motivates me? What's important to me? What am I good at? Where am I going? What am I doing? What's my next step? Like all these massive questions that we can ask ourselves. Like, what's my purpose? That kind of thing. Where it gets super interesting is that one of the reasons why I think we get lost is because exactly what Jazz has just said there is that we may be playing someone else's game, right? Like we may be living by someone else's set of values, whether it's our parents, whether it's our culture, whether it's the job and the organization that we've embedded ourselves in. That has its own culture, that has its own archetype of what it means to succeed. Do you fit that archetype? And if not, then you're going to meet some of that inner resistance. So it's when our true nature, which I believe is in us, something that is given, endowed. But the point is, it's something that's deep within us, that's our own. And when that comes up against the enculturation that we've had, and it resists it in terms of if there's a conflict against those two things, then I think that internal battle can actually be exhausting. And that exhaustion can then just kind of turn into this feeling of like demotivation, like just ambivalence, nihilism, just like, who am I? And then you ask all these questions, right? Because who you are is already there. Like there's no need to go search for it, right? Like there's that wonderful quote from the Zen master, which I always say, which I'm going to forget now. But instead of instead of like looking outward to find your place in the world, look inside and there you'll find it, right? Like it's about actually just uncovering what's already there. So the power in this work is going, okay, let's delineate. What's the values that I've been given? But more importantly, what are my values? What are my, like, aligned to my true nature? Like, who am I? Not my parents, not my friends, not society, not my culture. Like, who am I? What do I actually believe in? And there's evidence for that. It's
and
not
the only
just
way you get into that is to peel back, like how you did there. You peel back all people's experiences. You see what a value is, and if that's actually theirs, or if that's something they picked up. Like, yeah, I get it. Okay.
Exactly, man. And the way that we figure out whether it's theirs or something they picked up is that if it's a pattern that repeats over time, and it's some serious digging in those questions. Like I let you off. I didn't really dig that much, and I did a lot of assuming. But if you were under my scalpel, we would have dug in quite deep, man, and we would have had some fun doing it. But if you think about the worst experiences of your life, like the ones that you don't even want to touch, maybe even want to talk about. There's people that talk to me about stuff that they never talk to even their partners about because it's so painful. But when you dig right into that stuff, like no judgment, we're just digging in, okay? And then we're going to come back out. We're not going to dwell. But when you do that work, that's when you find out what really matters, man. That's when you find out what really, really is important to you and what matters to you.
And why.
And why. Yeah, why. And that's what these patterns are, right? These values. Because you'll see patterns. Just like we almost got some patterns just from one experience. But imagine now 20 like highs and lows, how many patterns we would get. So the power is like, once you've delineated and you know who you are, then you could kind of throw the shackles off of maybe what's been enculturated up to this point. And why now? Because it's such a brilliant opportunity if you've met chaos. Right? Damn it, ding. I'm on two out of three. Like I did with my mum, right? Like it made me ask some big questions, like who am I? Why am I here? Like I clearly don't have that much time left. Any of those situations in our life that may cause us to ask those big questions is a great opportunity to do that digging. Is to go, my life is now, especially if you've been made redundant or you've you've really lost a sense of who you are, great. Because you know what? Now we can build from the ground up. Because what you've been doing up until this point is you've been creating a framework for your life. So you look at your life and you go, this is what I expect life to be. I expect to come on this podcast and for us to have a conversation, right? So I built a framework around that. If Jazz suddenly got up and started like getting naked, actually naked, that would break and dance. That would break my framework. I'd have to rebuild my framework, right? So that particular chaos, and I'm happy to use that word on the third one, ding, ding, ding for that one, is useful because when those frameworks come down, there's an opportunity there to rebuild your frameworks, not to the game that you've been playing up until now, which is possibly someone else's game, but you can play the game that you want to play. So you get to build a framework up in line with your true nature, who you truly are, your authentic self.